So demons, they afflict to inhabit. Now, in your body, you have different gateways. You have the mouth, the nose, the ears, eyes, and you can probably guess the other parts of your body that are gateways into your body. Trauma is how demons enter the body. They set up strongholds in you to inhabit, and they get through these gateways in your body. Trauma is an emotional response to a terrible event like an accident, rape, or natural disaster. Immediately after the event, shock and denial are typical. Longer-term reactions include unpredictable emotions, flashbacks, strained relationships, and even physical symptoms like headaches and nausea. While these feelings are normal, some people have difficulty moving on with their lives. Psychologists can help these individuals find constructive ways of managing their emotions. Psychological trauma is damage to a person's mind as a result of one or more events that cause overwhelming amounts of stress that exceeds the person's ability to cope or integrate the emotions involved, eventually leading to serious long-term negative consequences. Trauma is not the same as mental distress or suffering, both of which are universal human experiences. Given that subjective experience differ between individuals, people will react to similar events differently. In other words, not all people who experience a potentially traumatic event will actually become psychologically traumatized, although they may all be distressed and experience suffering. However, some people will develop post-traumatic stress disorder after being exposed to a major traumatic event. This discrepancy in risk rate attributed to protective factors some individuals may have that enable them to cope with difficult events. They are related to temperamental and environmental factors from among others. Some examples are resilience characteristics and active seeking of help. Post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms may start within 1 month of a traumatic experience, but sometimes symptoms may not appear until years after the event. These symptoms cause significant problems in social or work situations and in relationships. They can also interfere with your ability to go about your normal daily tasks. PTSD symptoms are generally grouped into 4 types: intrusive memories, avoidance, negative changes in thinking and mood, and changes in physical and emotional reactions. Symptoms can vary over time or vary from person to person. They can be intrusive memories. Symptoms of intrusive memories may include reoccurring, unwanted, distressing memories of the traumatic event, reliving the traumatic event as if it were happening again, such as flashbacks, upsetting dreams or nightmares about the traumatic event, severe emotional distress or physical reactions to something that reminds you of the traumatic event. Avoidance. Symptoms of avoidance may include trying to avoid thinking or talking about the traumatic event, avoiding places, activities, or people that remind you of the traumatic event. Negative changes in thinking and mood. Symptoms of negative changes in thinking and mood may include negative thoughts about yourself, other people, or the world, hopelessness about the future, memory problems, including not remembering important aspects of the traumatic event, difficulty maintaining close relationships, feeling detached from family and friends, lack of interest in activities you once enjoyed, difficulty experiencing positive emotions, feeling emotionally numb, changes in physical and emotional reactions. Symptoms of changes in physical and emotional reactions, also called arousal symptoms, may include being easily startled or frightened, always being on guard for danger, self-destructive behavior such as drinking too much or driving too fast, trouble sleeping, trouble concentrating, irritability, angry outbursts or aggressive behavior, overwhelming guilt or shame. For children 6 years old and younger, signs and symptoms may also include reenacting a traumatic event or aspects of the traumatic event through play, frightening dreams that may or may not include aspects of the traumatic event, intensity of symptoms. PTSD symptoms can vary in intensity over time. You may have more PTSD symptoms when you're stressed in general, or when you come across reminders of what you went through. For example, you may hear a car backfire and relive combat experiences, or you may see a report on the news about a sexual assault and feel overcome by memories of your own assault. When to see a doctor. If you have disturbing thoughts and feelings about a traumatic event for more than a month, if they're severe, or if you feel you're having trouble getting your life back under control, talk to your doctor or a mental health professional. Getting treatment as soon as possible can help prevent PTSD symptoms from getting worse. If you have suicidal thoughts, if you or someone you know has suicidal thoughts, get help right away through one or more of the resources that I'll put in the description in the box below. Reach out to a close friend or loved one. Contact a minister, a spiritual leader, or someone in your faith community. And I'll put all of these numbers and things in the description below, because it's so important that we deal with these issues, because this is what the enemy is using to get access to your life. He's using your trauma, he's using the things you've been through, he's using what happened in your childhood. He's using even what happened before you were even born in your mother's womb. He's using what happened to your parents and their grandparents and the parents and the forefathers to afflict you. So yeah, I'm gonna put all of that information in the box below. I'm gonna do it for the UK, and I'll do it for America as well. I don't know much other helplines, but I'm sure there's in your country, whatever particular country you're in, there are helplines or help services that can help you. And I'm sure there's information out there on that. But now, going to ACEs, which stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. The experiences we have early in our lives, and particularly in our early childhoods, have a huge impact on how we grow and develop. Our physical and mental health, and our thoughts, feelings, and behavior. Two important factors to think about when considering our mental well-being are the quality of our attachment relationships and our experiences of ACEs. What is attachment? Attachment refers to the pattern of the relationships we have had with our parents or carers early in our lives. It is the emotional bond that forms between a parent and child from birth and has a huge impact on our development. The way a parent or carer responds to their child will impact on a child's attachment style. This attachment style becomes a template for how we build future relationships with others in our lives, and also a template of how we feel about ourselves and other people. If we have experienced a relationship with a parent or carer which has been positive, we will develop a positive template for other relationships, as well as positive feelings about ourselves and others. But sometimes how children are cared for is not so positive. For various reasons, and this can make it harder for people to make and maintain positive relationships in the future, manage their feelings and behaviors, or feel good about themselves or others. When our early attachments have been negative and these lead us to go on to have difficulties with relationships and our mental well-being, this can sometimes be described as attachment difficulties. So attachment bonds. If your primary carer made you feel safe and understood as an infant, if they were able to respond to your cries and accurately interpret your changing physical and emotional needs, then you likely developed a successful, secure attachment. As an adult, that usually translates to being self-confident, trusting, and hopeful, with an ability to healthily manage conflict, respond to intimacy, and navigate the ups and downs of romantic relationships. If you've experienced confusing, frightening, or inconsistent emotional communication during infancy, if your caregiver was unable to consistently comfort you or respond to your needs, you're more likely to have experienced an unsuccessful or insecure attachment. Infants with insecure attachment often grow into adults who have difficulty understanding their own emotions and the feelings of others, limiting their ability to build or maintain stable relationships. They may find it difficult to connect to others, shy away from intimacy, or be too clingy, fearful, or anxious in a relationship. Of course, experiences that occur between infancy and adulthood can also impact and shape our relationships. However, the infant brain is so profoundly influenced by the attachment bond. Understanding your attachment style can offer vital clues as to why you may be having problems in your adult relationships. Perhaps you behave in puzzling or self-destructive ways when you're in a close relationship. Maybe you repeatedly make the same mistake over and over, or maybe you struggle to form meaningful connections in the first place. Attachment styles or types are characterized by the behavior exhibited within a relationship, especially when that relationship is threatened. For example, someone with a secure attachment style may be able to share their feelings openly and seek support when faced with relationship problems. Those with insecure attachment styles, on the other hand, may tend to become needy or clingy in their closest relationships, behave in selfish or manipulative ways when feeling vulnerable, or simply shy away from intimacy altogether. While attachment styles are largely shaped by the infant primary caregiver connection, especially during the first year, it's important to note that the strength of attachment is not based solely on the level of parental love or the quality of care an infant receives. Rather, attachment is founded on a non-verbal emotional communication developed between caregiver and infant. Beyond categorizing attachment as secure or insecure, there are subsets of insecure attachment which give us 4 main attachment styles. So you have the secure attachment, the ambivalent or anxious preoccupied attachment, the avoidant, dismissive attachment, or the disorganized attachment. Having a secure attachment style doesn't mean you're perfect or you don't experience relationship problems, but you're likely to feel secure enough to take responsibility for your own mistakes and failings, and are willing to seek help and support when you need it. You appreciate your own self-worth, and you're able to be yourself in an intimate relationship. You're comfortable expressing your feelings, hopes, and needs. You find satisfaction in being with others, openly seek support and comfort from your partner or friends, but don't get overly anxious when the two of you are apart. You're similarly happy for your partner to rely on you for support. You're able to maintain your emotional balance and seek healthy ways to to manage conflict in close relationship. When faced with disappointment, setbacks, and misfortune in your relationships as well as parts of your life, you're resilient enough to bounce back. People with an ambivalent attachment style, also referred to as anxious, preoccupied, ambivalent anxious, or simply anxious attachment style, tend to be overly needy. As the label suggests, people with this attachment style are often anxious and uncertain, lacking in self-esteem. They crave emotional intimacy but worry that others don't want to be with them. How anxious attachment style affects adult relationships. If you have an ambivalent or anxious preoccupied attachment style, you may be embarrassed about being too clingy, or your constant need for love and attention. Or you may feel worn down by fear and anxiety about whether your partner really loves you. You want to be in a relationship and crave feelings of closeness and intimacy with a significant other, but you struggle to feel that you can trust or fully rely on your partner. Being in an intimate relationship tends to take over your life, and you become overly fixated on the person. You may find it difficult to observe boundaries, viewing space between you as a threat, something that can provoke panic, anger, or fear that your partner no longer wants you. A lot of your sense of self-worth rests on how you feel you're being treated in a relationship, and you tend to overreact to any perceived threats to the relationship. You feel anxious or jealous when away from your partner, and may use guilt, controlling behavior, or other manipulative tactics to keep them close. You need constant reassurance and lots of attention from your partner. Others may criticize you for being too needy or clingy, and you may struggle to maintain close relationships. It's likely your parent or primary caregiver was inconsistent in their parenting style, sometimes engaged and responsive to your needs as an infant, other times unavailable or distracted. This inconsistency may have left you feeling anxious and uncertain about whether your needs in this first relationship would be met, and thus provide a model for your behavior in later relationships. Avoidant dismissive attachment style. Adults with an avoidant, dismissive, insecure attachment style are the opposite of those who are ambivalent or anxious preoccupied. Instead of craving intimacy, they're so wary of closeness, they try to avoid emotional connection with others. They would rather not rely on others or have others rely on them. Someone with avoidant attachment style, you tend to find it difficult to tolerate emotional intimacy. You value your independence and freedom to the point where you can feel uncomfortable with even stifled by intimacy and closeness in a romantic relationship. You're an independent person, content to care for yourself, and don't feel you need others. The more someone tries to get close to you, or the needier a partner becomes, the more you tend to withdraw. You are uncomfortable with your emotions, and partners often accuse you of being distant and closed off, rigid and intolerant. In return, you accuse them of being too needy. You're prone to minimize or disregard your partner's feelings, keep secrets from them, engage in affairs, and even end relationships in order to regain your sense of freedom. You may prefer fleeting, casual relationships to long-term intimate ones, or you seek out partners who are equally independent, ones who will keep their distance emotionally. While you may think you don't need close relationships or intimacy, the truth is we all do. Humans are hardwired for connection, and deep down, even someone with an avoidant, dismissive attachment style wants a close, meaningful relationship. If only they could overcome their deep-seated fears of intimacy. An avoidant, dismissive attachment style often stems from a parent who was unavailable or rejecting during your intimacy. Since your needs were never regularly or predictably met by your caregiver, you are forced to distance yourself emotionally and try to self-soothe. This built a foundation of avoiding intimacy and craving independence in later life, even when that independence and lack of intimacy causes its own distress.